programming as a DJ will get you further, because you can have all the technical skills, but still not be able to connect to the soul of the person to make them sing that song over and over and over again. And for that, we have to credit female artists and artists in general, which is lacking in house music. Because if we don't develop artists, then that's also how the art form will be lost.
Let's get into it. Gentlemen, please state your names.
I'm Henry Kronk. I'm a writer and journalist based in Vermont.
Disciple?
I'm DJ Disciple, New York's best kept secret.
Awesome. How did you get the name Disciple?
As a reminder that only what you do for Christ shall last, as not to be puffed up in my belief systems, but to be able to be disciplined, to do what's morally right.
Love it. How did the two of you meet?
I think it was back in the mid 2010s. I was, looking for freelance writing work, and I think I answered a Craigslist ad Disciple had posted. We worked together. We had a good relationship, and then he approached me with this project in 2018. I want to say. Does that sound right, Disciple?
That's correct.
What made you write this book?
I felt that there's a need for us to tell our story because it has not been documented. I think that a lot of us have DJ'd ourselves to death and not been able to tell stories of the underground of people that really contributed to the scene, and do justice to that scene, and really talk about what it means to have a beginning, middle, and ending for a DJ story, not where a DJ will continue to conquer the world forever and ever and ever. But that's just me. But Henry came in with the concept that worked well with me, to combine a social justice aspect with it, and combine that with a lot of the things that I went through in my college and going through nightclubs in New York and then traveling abroad.
Yeah, and I think I'd just add, as a writer, the story that Disciple came to me with was, just really interesting. He literally lived in the same building as a guy who was, one of the original mobile DJs, who not only was an innovator of his craft, but also helped invent some of the technology DJs use today. He grew up in this incredible community, and personally coming to this, I'd never known the history of house music until I met Disciple. And I think it's something that's not very well known. So that's not a reason to write a story. I don't know what it is.
That's awesome. And then tell us about the book. What research was done for the book? And what other books did you read or are you aware of that inspired you and informed you for this book?
Henry?
Oof. Where to start? Well, first of all, I'd say, Disciple has a background as a journalist and a writer and an interviewer himself. So he's been getting in touch with DJs to talk about their craft for, decades at this point. So we had a huge reservoir of material there to draw from. Then, I conducted several more interviews on my own. In terms of material that we consulted with, we looked through a lot of newspaper archives to find some very old things. I'm terrible about being put on the spot. Help me out here, Disciple, with the name Life and Death on the Dance Floor, the work of Tim Lawrence. Tim Lawrence is an incredible academic writer. Yeah, go for it.
And people that have written Love Saves the Day, a lot of the books that have come out, I love them. and I admire all of like Bill Brewster. I look forward to his articles, but I've looked forward to articles in Village Voice from Greg Tate on the hip hop side. So I've always been entrenched. I wrote journals and did journalism in Baruch College back in the days. So I was always big on interviewing people. I did that when I was on WNYE. And as Noema, you highlighted on your own show, I did a next level documentary about the latter day 2000s of house music, where I had numerous interviews from Kenny Carpenter to Big Bob to every major player almost within that scene. So documenting things is something that I've always done since I've started DJing. A lot of people are very surprised with a lot of the photos I've had back in the days. I kept all my old choice flyers when I alternated with Basil and Larry Levan, kept all my old party flyers from the Wild Pitch, from GBH doing the whole bottle service scene. I documented a lot of things from the UK and when I went abroad. And hence the reason why you got 150 photos looking at you.
I love it. I love it. Tell us the name of the book and when it's going to be released.
Henry?
It's called The Beat, the Scene, the Sound. Going to be published in June of this year.
That's the book, and that's when it comes out. What do you want readers to take away from this book?
Henry?
You know, I can speak from my own experience. You know how there are some songs that really stick in you deeply from maybe you're probably young when you hear them. One of the first songs I ever heard that I remember hearing on the radio was Gypsy Woman by Crystal Waters, a song that I'm sure a lot of your listeners will be familiar with. When I'm a teenager, one kind of concert experience that really sticks in my mind is I went to see Bass Nectar, okay? Maybe that's a bit of a guilty pleasure in these days. You know, much love to Bass Nectar in the mid 2010s, 2000s. But I had no idea that those two artists were part of the same musical tradition. And I had no idea that that musical tradition had all these different roots. It had traveled to all these different countries and then rebounded to, you know, it's just still going on and on up till today. So I would say what I want readers to take away is that house music is a genuine musical tradition that has, you know, deep roots in American history.
Disciple?
And for me, I wanted to purposely we're doing our launch at the New York Public Library. Herb Martin is the moderator on June the 23rd. We're doing this moderation at the New York Public Library because I have been called to really focus on trying to get a book about house music in every New York Public Library. Not just every New York Public Library, but I'm also going to the UK to help promote the book. I'll be out there from July 10th to the 24th to make sure that I can get it in public outlets where it can be part of college learning, high school learning, just to learn about how social justice and dancing intertwine in the way that has affected us. So it was important for me to also light the fire for other DJs that also have a story to tell, because it is also important for them to tell their story about their journey with house music in New York City or abroad.
I love that. I love that. What was the biggest challenge in writing the book?
Henry?
That's a good question. I think a big challenge was figuring out where we should start, where we should stop, and what we should contain the story to. It's not like we're setting out to write a 10-volume history of house music here. At the same time, we do want to, you know, speak to Disciple's genuine experience and innovation in the genre. So for us, it was, I think, a question of figuring out how broad do we want to make this, and what storylines do we want to draw in, what characters do we want to follow. And that was a balancing act that took pretty much 4 years of ongoing work. You know, wouldn't you say, Disciple?
I've got too much history. And the fact of the matter is that a lot of the residencies that I've done are not in the book. There's another 2 stories in there. There's another 2 books that we can expand upon. But I think that sticking to what we have for now is good for people to see. It's a concrete work. Everybody can't be in the book. And so, you got to work with what's the most effective. And I found peace in that, and peace in understanding that we can always go back and do something else, because everybody has a story in them. Oh, by the way, one of the other things that was hurtful to us is all the corrections that we had to make with each other. The grammatical.
Lots of editing. Lots of changes, lots of notes.
Yeah.
Listen, I've never talked to any of my best friends as much as I've talked to Disciple over the years. Okay, every week, we're talking on the phone hours, often. So it's been a long collaboration, and one that has involved a lot of time for sure.
So Disciple, take us back to the beginning. Where were you born and where did you grow up?
I'm born and still live in Farragut Projects, 230 in the hood. I'm from the streets, but the streets is looking beautiful now. And I'm grateful to still be a full-time dad, which is why I stayed off the road, take care of my daughter full-time. Last year, I was awarded, I don't know if you can see this, but this is the Mary Andrews Award for my services in the community. And last year at PS 307, no, I wouldn't say last year. I would say, last year, June, I was awarded Parent of the Year in my school. This year, my daughter's in her new school, and the faculty there wanted me to teach the class how you write a book. And I'm so glad that my daughter was part and presence of that, to see that her father is there for her every step of the way. And, I stopped traveling because I wanted to be a girl dad. And it's the best thing I've ever did. And I'm so proud and happy about it.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Tell us the transition from becoming, how did you discover house music?
Through a friend of mine that lived in Harlem named DJ Jazz.
Expand.
And DJ is an amazing DJ. He DJ'd for Rucker Park, the basketball tournament games up in Harlem.
Yep.
And so he was really popular. Actually, the Rucker Park had a documentary series that he's in, and he DJ'd for that. But he also worked with Maria Davis, and he DJ'd and he highlighted acts with Foxy Brown, with a lot of like Nicki Minaj. He did showcases for them as they were coming up. So he's always played a pivotal part in this. He's still DJing, and he's DJing in Florida right now.
And then what are some of the first clubs you went to?
Palladium, Tunnel, World.
Did you have a preference, a favorite?
I think that what Roman Ricardo did for me was amazing, because what he was able to do was combine the hip hop and house together, which the book will show you and illustrate to you.
And what happened to hip hop and house together?
I think it still coexists. Obviously, you've had BounceFM with E-Man, and obviously, Easy Mo B has done some of the best tracks on Biggie's album, but he has also played house music. DJ Clark Kent introduced Jay-Z and Biggie together, and they did a record together that he produced. But Clark Kent played at Wild Pitch parties. So ever since the inception, house music and hip hop have always collaborated with each other. Wouldn't you agree, Henry?
Yeah, totally. We can get into that if y'all want to. I think one story that's important early on in the book is we have this idea today that hip hop and house are really distinct genres. And, they've got different crowds, they've got different cultures. The people who make them will identify themselves, maybe contrary to one or the other. But it wasn't always that way. You know, we've got a lot of folks talking to us about how, you know, this music comes from new technology that's coming out, new music that's coming out in the form of dance, R&B, soul, that has these rhythm breaks. And these folks are cutting out the rhythm breaks, looping them together, using crossovers to combine two tracks together. And if you think about it, that's really the basis of both house music and hip hop. So, you know, there's a lot more that could be said there, but I think that's something that's quite lost today. You know, that's something that we don't have such a good idea of.
Gospel house used to be a thing. What happened?
What'd you say? Gospel house used to be a thing?
Yeah. And then what happened?
Nothing happened. I think that what Spen is doing today, I think that gospel and house music will always formulate a tangent as long as folks still go to church. There'll always be a word for God that God has for you to hear, because we know that house music is fusion friendly, don't we? We know that house music can go with anything. And so when we hear Josh Milan write his words to these songs that touch us and reaches us spiritually, we tap in. And some of us get lost in it, some of us get convicted, and some of us feel a great sense of joy from it.
What's your definition of soulful house?
My definition of soulful house is right back to you, 10 City. My definition of soulful house is Fingers Incorporated, okay, which was early Chicago. But let's be clear, unequivocally, Jersey House is the father of soulful house. The father of soulful house. Adiva, Casio Ware, Roland Clark, all those Jersey artists are the foundation of soulful house in New York City. Would you agree?
1000%.
Okay. We talking to the author from 91.5 FM that broke these records, you know.
Exactly. Discuss mixing skills versus programming. Which is more important?
Programming, because that's how you build institutions. David Mancuso built an institution not labeled by genres, did he? He didn't have the disco label. Dave Mancuso did rent parties. He wasn't a disco guy, but because he wasn't a disco guy, his party lasted longer than a lot of the disco institutions. Isn't that correct? Isn't it correct that the Paradise Garage was inspired by the Loft? Because of love saving the day and knowing that. So we also know that programming as a DJ will get you further, because you can have all the technical skills, but still not be able to connect to the soul of the person to make them sing that song over and over and over again. And for that, we have to credit female artists and artists in general, which is lacking in house music. Because if we don't develop artists, then that's also how the art form will be lost.
Well said. Discuss Amapiano from South Africa.
Henry?
I gotta kick this one to you, Disciple.
Okay, so Amapiano, right, is another genre that you will hear Eli Escobar play at LeBain on a Wednesdays, that kids from all cross cultures come to on a Wednesday. It's one of the best nights at LeBain that Eli Escobar drops, as well as he does playing all over the city. But it's the Afro beat that kids love. They love their Whiz Kids and things like that. So yes, although there might be a disconnect with the South African style house music that you hear Sabine or Nadia Eshe mixed in with their house music, I think that all that's needed for the connection to come into fruition from the younger, like the Amir and the Just 17 and the young kids from Jersey that's doing their thing, and from the older kids that's doing it, is that combination of having that continuation of younger DJs bringing in their younger crowd to express themselves artistically through dance.
Most DJs are male. What if your daughter wanted to become a professional DJ? Would you support her or discourage her?
In 1989, I had the first female DJ on the radio. Her name was Donna Edwards. And since that time, in discovering MK, was always one of the people that was leading the way to make sure that women had a place learning how to DJ. I remember the first time Sabine came to me for mixing lessons. And I'm so happy for the success that she's had. People like Nadia and Mickey Affleck have listened to my shows. But Muhammad, do you realize that in the latter part of the 2019s and 2018s, I booked 27 DJs a month, and a lot of them were women that didn't have opportunities, that were looking for a platform to play deep house into a Tuesday night. But thanks to a promoter named Becky Nunez, who is a sought after promoter, we was able to give women more of a platform to hone their skills and go out and champion the music that they love. Did you know that, Muhammad?
I did not know that. Now I know.
Yes.
I'm educated. So let's go back to the beginning. How did you get started as a DJ?
I was introduced to it by Ralph Davis. And Ralph Davis is from Harlem. We went to Baruch College together. And Henry will tell you that we had some similar things that we were common in. Right, Henry? Henry?
Yeah, I mean, I love to get Ralph here also, you know, he's a great guy. He grew up with the Crash Crew, original old school hip hop group. He actually, when I met him, he invited me to get kickboxing lessons with Dave from that group. That I unfortunately never took him up on the offer for, but you know, Disciple, I think it's safe to say you got your start in radio. Ralph, you know, brought you in. You were teching his show. Is that right? And then
Yeah.
that's where things really took off, right? And maybe you want to talk about Rich Lamont too. What was the scene like at WBMB?
Well, WBMB is where Ralph Davis baptized me to become his intern at the station, where he would interview supreme hip hop groups, because at that point in 1985, rap wasn't getting played on the radio at WBMB at Baruch College. So Ralph was the only person, and he had the keys to the kingdom to make sure that independent hip hop was heard on college radio. So he's a pioneer of that sort, because he worked the Mike and Dave parties in Harlem with Disco Dave. Disco Dave is the person that brought Stetsasonic and showcased Raw Bass, Dougie Fresh, all of the early hip hop crews that became so important in hip hop culture today.
So you got started there as a tech, and then talk to us about the evolution to playing gigs and having residencies.
Well, I started off as a gospel DJ first, right? Because I was in the church. And so from there, I had gotten my first lesson of DJing and learning how to work sound systems and things like that from Big Bob from Empire Roller Rink. Empire was the first roller skating place that a platform that I had. And then inevitably, I got caught up in some shenanigans at Brown's Guest House, and I realized that I have to take my craft seriously. And so I figured that doing a radio show and expanding it was the way to go for me. And I ventured into WNYE from that. And then from there, from Hunter College, the Sigmas caught on to me, and then they put me into a club I won't mention now because I want to kind of save this stuff for the book. But
Yep.
it was just a roller coaster. Most people that know my story knows how I transitioned from one thing to another. But the most important thing, they knew that as a DJ and having an identity, I was never to be pigeonholed, never, right? Because when we look at college, how college people partied, you got to realize I never went to the Paradise Garage. So maybe that'll stop your Paradise Garage question right there. I never went to the garage. I was one of the people that had all the college kids that went to the garage come to my parties that played at the parties that I was a part of for the Phi Beta Sigma. Okay.
Got it. Switch topics. I don't think Madonna or Beyonce are house music veterans, but they both got Grammys. What's your opinion,
Henry?
What's my opinion? Listen, I think I want to keep it positive. You know, I've got nothing bad to say about Beyonce or Madonna. Come on. One thing I will say is that if you have listened to a lot of old house music and you listen to Renaissance, there's no doubt that Beyonce did her homework. You know what I mean? Beyonce and her team. You can hear 808s, you can hear Junos. It's a cool vibe experiencing that in, you know, today. So, you know, I'm gonna say that was that's a pro for me in Beyonce's book. I don't know. What do you think, Disciple?
Here's where I'm coming from, Winner. And maybe you appreciate this, maybe not. Here's the situation. Rich Lamont is the person that worked at WBMB that taught me how to mix. He taught me how to mix records. Rich Lamont right now works at WBLS. He programs their music and he plays my songs in his mix from midnight till whenever they have them on. Now, their black radio in New York will let you do a midday mix, and they'll let you, do the after hours on the weekends. But they will no longer program house music on daytime programming the way they do their R&B and hip hop hits. And and because of that, other groups, other radio stations that we're backed by from major corporations, major labels, they accept our music. So when black radio doesn't accept its own people's music, and we have to go overseas and realize when our music overseas has gone top of the and recognized for it. And then when Beyonce has the power that be to recognize, hey, I'm Beyonce because I've had R&B hits forever. And it's okay for black radio to accept her and play her hit day after day after day to make it popular. It's no wonder that kids today will say, oh yeah, Beyonce brought house music back, because they haven't been listening to anything else as far as program radio. That's all they know. They'll know that because that's what's been programmed to them. Radio is all about programming. And once you program things into kids, that's how they'll receive it. Now, am I going to go out on a limb and say that Beyonce's right or wrong about everything, blah, blah, blah? I think it's more important to look at the details of where we need to be and stop looking on the outside, but look inside. Or rather, when we do these festivals, when we do these house showcases, how about the house music hit that's so hot in Jersey or Brooklyn? How about we start showcasing these singers and these artists and give them a profile and build their star up and look within, instead of saying, we're saying that Beyonce's this. Every scene has its place. But for me, I think that we can be better served like we did at the Underground Network times, during the Zanzibar times, where we had artists that could put the face to house music. I think we need to begin to not just put the DJ's face to the house music, but we need to put these singers and artists as the face of house music as well. I can't hear you. Mute you.
All right, perfect. No, I was saying I totally agree. Let's do this. Tell us what we're looking at right now.
Me graduating from PS 105.
Awesome.
With my friend Andre Chesson, who saved me when I was in 3rd grade, because I fell out the window and he pulled me in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he saved my life, Andre Chesson.
Which one is Andre?
He's the one, he's the black kid.
Gotcha. And here?
This is the institution of Dr. White Community Center after a volleyball game with the residents of Farragut Projects.
How old were you?
Oh, I must have been like 11, 10, 11.
Here, where are we here?
I'm at FDR High School with my friend Leon Atkinson. We went to this, we both started attending church and we both playing drums.
Here?
That's me studying at FDR High School, which I was gracious to be graduated from. That's a Mike and Dave party for which Ralph did security. That photo was provided by Jomo Simmons.
Got it. That one we saw already.
And that's our band from FDR High School, where I attended. I'm sitting all the way in the back holding a cymbal. Okay?
Oh, I see you back in the day.
Yeah. And this is another performance at the Mike and Dave parties from one of the legendary old school hip hop crew. That's Ralph David with Jomo and Robert De Niro at a showcase that they did in Manhattan. That's Rich Lamont, the person that taught me how to mix.
Wow.
That's Roma Ricardo at the Tunnel, one of the main inspirations of my hearing house music, which is outlined in the book.
Yep, Disciple, why don't you go into Roman Ricardo a little bit more? This is, I think, a name a lot of people won't know, I think.
Roma Ricardo was the person that broke LL Cool J's career, the Beastie Boys career. He had the Tunnel in 1986. He was one of the premier guys that, with Vito Bruno, that really made official house heads and hip hop heads come together on their Wednesday nights at the Palladium. And then he did Thursday nights at the Tunnel, in which Queen Latifah and Monifa, many hip hop artists and house heads used to collectively come to. Okay, that's Monty Collins with Lloyd and Steve. Those are both promoters that promoted. They approached me at Hunter College about doing Hunter College parties, and they were responsible for my success and getting my first event at Studio 54, which was the first club I played at. Yeah, that's so this is the Octagon. The Octagon is events where Blackball held their parties. Roger Sanchez used to do Octagon on the Saturdays. I used to do them on the Fridays. One thing we all had in common was circles. This is Voodoo Ray getting schooled by a dancer at the Choice.
And I think the dancer is Roger White.
Yes. Correct. You know it so well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And these are Choice clubbers that are having a good time at the Choice.
Tell us about the Choice. Where was the Choice? What night did you play? What was the crowd like?
I played on Thursday nights, right? And obviously it was at the Loft where David Mancuso was. Obviously, David Mancuso, I spoke to him on occasion sometimes, and he's a good guy. And he and Paul Trouble Anderson, I don't know if you ever heard of Paul Trouble Anderson from London, but Paul Trouble Anderson had this motto. And he said, when it came to house music, because, David wasn't fond of genres just like Paul wasn't. And then, Paul often said, house is where you live, and a garage is where you park your car. Underground is a form of transportation. In the earlier times, guys would say, you'd hear that a cappella, that house music is a universal language, spoken, understood by all. But then you would hear Eddie Amador say, hey, well, yes, that's true, but it's also true that not everybody understands house music. It's a spiritual thing, it's a body thing, it's a soul thing, right?
Mm-hmm. So well said.
So that's me when I started working I did my first video by Joanna called Freak It that was aired with Ralph McDaniels at the helm. And I did it with Joanna, but the video was done by Craze. He's the guy that made the song, I Said Shut Up. I know everybody's heard of Craze.
Yeah, that's the anthem.
That's the anthem, baby. And so that's a photo of DJ Camacho. When you really break it down, right? Camacho and I, like when I was in college, I was a straight up acid head, right? I loved my Baby Ford, my Blake Baxter, right? We was into our CNC, The Seduction, the Donnie, right? Rich in Paradise, Pump Up the Jam. We loved all those records, right? The Conversation. But whatchamacallit, when I went to Wild Pitch, he matured on it. Like me and Camacho was the first person to break Follow Me by Elias. I was the first one to break it on the radio and put it on air. But we broke records. There are Wild Pitch records that are broken that people don't understand that were the foundation of house. Like when you hear DJ Pierre with Generator Power, I've Been Slammed Again by Alexis P. Suter, Black Betty, Bobby Condon's The Poem. All these records were Wild Pitch records, okay? Just Another Chance by Reese, Holding On by Michael Wofford, I Can't Stop by Ples. So that also changed the attitude. And there was a difference between that and playing at the Choice. Because the Choice, as whether you know it or not, the Choice was the first venue to really break the Yoruba style records. When you think of Koro Koro, right? Or Obatala, the beginning, right? The Choice is my introduction to Larry Levan playing Bang Bang Your Mind, which was the connection between me and KCC. But Basil was the one that also thrived when he put out City Streets. You heard Petey Weestraw, Satoshi Tomi's Tears, right? The Beloved Sun Rising. You heard those songs. And then we had that side, but I also was on the Banji side. And when we talking about the Banji side, we talking about Roger Sanchez, Love Dancing, Logic, like The Warning, Meltdown, Rescue Me, Steve Poindexter, Computer Madness. That all came from the Banji scene. This Is Acid, The Poke, The Difference, Love on Love, all of that. That's our Banji era, right? And so that's where I was able to, with Camacho's help, navigate and know all that different musical styles. And Camacho's never credited enough for everything that he's done for house music. Yeah?
I agree.
I mean, if I could just jump in, I never got to see Camacho play, but researching this book, if there's any name that came up more and more as just an underrated DJ who the world should know about, it's definitely Camacho, in my opinion.
Mm.
So that's my secretary, Diamond, with DJ Mansky. And they were at their Choice as well. And Diamond was my secretary that was active, and she was a club kid, and she knew what was up. She would tell me about great records that was up. She was the first one. Like, I always like Never No More Lonely, but she said, Disciple, you know what you need to play? You need to play Sleazy by Robert Owens. And she got me into that.
Where is she now?
Show though. First of all, you may not know this, Moena, and this is not really in the book, but my mother, we didn't connect. We didn't have a close relationship. We didn't connect that well because, she had a troubled background, and that's all in the book. But one thing that's not in the book that needs to be said was she was the one that kind of helped me put women on. She was the one that encouraged me to put more women on. She became the voice of that for me. You understand what I mean? So a lot of that I owe to my mother, to understand like why it's so important to have women do mixes, have a voice, be in positions of power. My mother was all about that. So once again, we're back at the black box. I mean, not blackball parties. And this was after Jones Beach affair. This is a flyer for Marquee. Now, we know Marquee from now because of the, where they are. But, and I don't know if it's the same Marquee. But this was an amazing party. That one that I'll never forget from all the people that attended.
What made it so amazing?
What made it so amazing was the combination of DJs, because we had White Lightning, Mark McHale, Mia Camacho. And when you're doing an after party, first of all, the Jones Beach affair in itself back in these days, as you well know, had thousands of people. You couldn't even get in the door. So it was so crowded. So once you came back from Jones Beach and you came to this party afterwards, it was ultra packed and you couldn't fit people in. But people, they really got to understand and discover like a lot of the house that we played. We initiated house music through the Wild Pitch, Blackball, even Voodoo Ray events.
Tell people what Wild Pitch.
A big part of that as well when he was doing Kilimanjaro, when he was doing Hard House. You know, I think that Basil is also a hero for the scene, not just in this music, but for the dancers. And we're quick to talk about a lot of some other legends, but Basil's name and even what he's doing right now is incredible. What he's doing with his vocals, working with and collaborating with Booker T and Full Attention. He is an amazing talent that, you know, we all should commend and applaud.
Tell people what Wild Pitch was.
Wild Pitch was the best gypsy party in New York, and it was the essential party that connected the Paradise. It was the in-between between after the Paradise Garage and before the Shelter. So it was one of the most important parts of house music history in New York City.
And who was involved in Wild Pitch?
Henry, you want to get that?
Yeah, sure. I interviewed all these guys. Greg Day is the the main force behind it, I would say. But he started out with Patrick LaFontaine and Trevor Biggs, a few other people in the early days whose names I'm forgetting right now. Then as time went along, they started getting some resident DJs or founding DJ promoters. I think the first was Nick Jones. David Camacho actually was probably before Nick Jones, maybe around the same time. And then Bobby Condors came along, and that's pretty much the core group.
Timmy Richardson.
And Timmy Richardson. Thank you. The other Timmy, GOT. Thank you, Disciple. Lots of names to remember.
So this is a photo of the X-Clan with one of her, I forgot her name. She's the one that introduced me to house music in Queens. And she helped sponsor my radio. Lynn Q. Lynn Q is the one that was responsible for me playing in Queens, but I was introduced to her at the Choice. And on the far right, you'll see E-Man there.
Wow. Wow. Throwback.
So this is Ejo at the Shelter in a circle. Now, the story goes like this. When the first time I met Ejo, right, I had a certain mindset. I think it was at the Tunnel. And I came from mindset, hey, everybody dancing together, blah, blah, blah. And Ejo's like taking up this dance floor in a circle. So I pulled him off. I said, man, what you doing, bro? Why you showcasing? I want to dance with this girl. And Ejo was like, that's how the music makes me feel. And I couldn't understand the concept of circles. I frowned on it for a long time. But then I got around to thinking that I was the one that was wrong when I understood that the dancers was the one that supported me. And so one of the people that pulled me to the side and pulled my coattail on it was Loose Key. Because Loose Key understood the plight that I went through, being a young buck, wet behind the ears, breath smelling like Similac. You understand? And he understood that, you gotta, as a young DJ, you gotta understand why people are in circle. There's a history behind it. There's a movement behind it. There's a tribal feeling behind it. And ever since that time, I've had a greater love and respect for circles, people in circles. As a matter of fact, Ejo was my resident DJ when I did Feel Real much later on. And I still keep in contact with him today. So there's always great love there between us.
We saw that one already.
Yeah. You saw that. So this is Elias performing Follow Me with a Diva at Club 88, while me playing with Jazzy B and Hard Hitting Harry. And it's just a reminder to let you know the power that college crowds had, and the thirst and hunger that they had for house music within college communities. Henry, you want to add something?
What would I add right here? I don't think I've got anything right here. It's yeah, I'll pass on that one.
Okay.
I don't know. Is there anything you want me to speak to, especially Disciple?
No, we're good. The next photo obviously is David Mancuso. And David Mancuso obviously was an inspirational, loved figure by all. And he was passionate about talking about sound, talking about freedom in music. And although it was long ago, I would try to soak up as much things that he or Joey or Richard would say to me when I was learning about this business and learning about the game, going to the Choice and being faithful, because the Choice had its own vibe. And I appreciate and respect everything that Joey's done for me just as much as David Mancuso. This is Club 280. So I started Club 280, and it's in my book. But I think what made the music policy of Club 280 so different was I was transitioning from the acid house. You know, I would, Energy Flash by Joey Beltram was played, 9 Mile Wax was played, Orbital Chime, but I'll Be Your Friend was broken at Club 280. Gypsy Woman was broken at Club 280. No, people never heard it. My radio show was very strong at that time because I was getting a lot of music from Kerry Chandler. He was responsible for me having B.D. Brave's My Lover. So it was an incredible time because once again, when I say, Jersey was the father of Soulful House, there was a lot of records that you loved during that time, from Kenny Bobian, Casio Ware, Intense, would Let the Rain Come Down. And they had a lineage of incredible DJs like T. Scott and Larry Patterson, Tony Humphries. So it was a lot. So it was, but I brought a different vibe to it because the dancers from New York came and supported that, especially Marjorie Smarts, and David and Derek Story, who helped me carry records there. There's some people that are prominent right now that came from traveling and taking my records. Even people from Farragut would come out, and Fort Greene would come out to support me at this party at Club 280. And it's just as quick as I came, I got it, I lost it. And that was at Zanzibar. And Henry can talk to that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just repeating what you've told me, Disciple, but I don't know. I think it's really interesting. I think anybody who gets into music like this knows that clubs have a vibe, clubs have a style, and I think we've all been at a show when something just isn't quite right. There's some kind of mismatch, and per Disciple's account, that's kind of what went down at Zanzibar. Tony Humphries Tony Humphries was the Larry Levan of New Jersey. I mean, come on. Tony Humphries is a legend. And so he leaves to go play at Ministry of Sound when Disciple's rocking it at Club 280. And promoter Lateef Summers, I believe, says, let's move to Zanzibar. We got this good thing going. They try and make the move, and I think it was just a case of, wrong place, wrong time, Disciple. What would you put your finger on what went down there?
I think that for the most part, for some part of it, I've had a little bit of success, but for the most part, to the standard of what Zanzibar is expecting, it was a lesson that I had to learn. It was a lesson for me for in the end. But I still played there, and you know, people call me to play gigs in Jersey now, but I think that I had to relearn how to play better in those situations, and I had to learn how to become a better DJ. And I learned how to do that from Naeem Johnson. Naeem Johnson is one that re-educated me on Jersey House, on, you know, working with him at Black Box, working with him at the Mirage. It's always good to learn from other DJs and to also admit when you've come short and you like, hey, you're not able to come correct. You know, there's some parties that you do great at, and there's some parties that you fall off on. And it's okay to fall off, but as long as you're not staying down, you'll be okay. What you think, Muemba?
I agree with
So
you.
that's Naeem Johnson. And so Naeem Johnson is the culture bearer of New Jersey since Tony Humphries left until, you know, the 2000s. And a lot is credited to what he's done for the club scene. And it's in my book because Naeem is that DJ that, you know, people recognize and respect, but there's a difference between somebody that respects you and values you. And I value him enough to put him in this book because I understand the importance that he played in New Jersey and in the scene. What you think, Muemma?
1000%. He's that dude.
Yes.
Tell us, what is the Jersey sound? Describe the Jersey sound.
The Jersey sound is what I described it. It is the backbone of gospel singers that got into the fusion-friendly house music vibe, and via Kenny Bobian, Arnold Jarvis, or any of the Soulful, Eddie Stockland, that sing the gospel house and sing inspirational music that B.O.P. produces. That is that Jersey sound. And one of the things that I've learned, because you got to realize that I come from that lineage. That lineage is responsible not just for soulful house music, but also for UK garage. Let's not forget, Todd Edwards comes from New Jersey. Smack Productions, who I made my first hit with, comes from New Jersey. Those harder beats with soulful vocals picked up in UK garage. Make no mistake about it. So that is a party at the Shelter. Given to me by Loose Key. And I wanted to put it in the book, but I wasn't sure whether I should or not. But I wanted to celebrate what Shelter did as an institution because, you know, Timmy Regisford has been someone that has also championed our scene. And what he's done for the Shelter musically has benefited and made a whole generation of house heads that started in the garage keep going. He's the motor. He was like the engine that kept going. So out of that, we see like Quentin Harris, and we see Tyrone Francis and Herb Martin and Kim Lightfoot be inspired and create their own niches, and where people can go out and see all these other level of DJs that have also been to the forefront of dance music culture in New York. Am I speaking facts or not? That's another photo of the Shelter.
That is a beautiful photograph. I actually know the woman in the tank top dancing right in the front, but I'll leave her name out of it because she probably wants to be private.
Correct. That's Tyrone Francis. No, he's at Wild Pitch. This is a photo at Wild Pitch.
Wow.
So this is where we had college events at, where we had Bobby Condas play with us when Bobby Condas was at BLS and playing reggae, and it was at the Muse. And the Muse was formerly Mars, right? Which was one of the last places that Larry used to play at. So it was important because it also states how like important that New York, New Jersey connection was. Because Jazzy B, when I felt down about what happened at Zanzibar. But Jazzy B's the person that lifted me back up along with Naeem Johnson. And Jazzy B had me play the last time I played at Zanzibar, Robert Owens performed. Kid Bachelor performed as well, I'm pretty sure. And we brought the house down. And it was like that, my little redemption moment of playing at Zanzibar for the last time. Now, Kevin O is the man. He's the person that also was a culture bearer for Zanzibar, because even at a young age, he helped motivate and break those records like Brighter Days and Special, New, all those early Jersey house records that are still influential today. Now, this is a different path altogether. That's my man, DJ Dove, and I'm with Benji Candeloro. We are at the Underground Network party at the Sound Factory Bar. And this is the one flyer that I found. It's a party that was promoted by Voodoo Ray, right? And I am actually DJing with my hero, Roman Ricardo, at the City in 1993. An amazing party. They used to have parties at the Circle, for which I DJ'd at once in a while. But they're doing this party that Voodoo Ray and Leon Freeman and so many others, a lot of people forget these kind of flyers and these kind of events that went on in New York City. As I was first coming over to the UK, the Junior Boys Own were a hot commodity. But they had a lot of amazing parties at their Junior Boys Own party. I think at this particular party, Kerry Chandler came by. And as you can see on the flyer, I was playing that week and Roger Sanchez was playing the week, the time after, the next month after. But Junior Boys Own was also instrumental too in their remixes and making sure that I got a hit record, because their remix of On the Dance Floor is the one that made it on radio back for me in 1994. And I thanked them for it because it got me a lot of gigs. So this is me DJing at Feel Real. Feel Real is a club that's also in this book with Femi B, Rhythm Doctor, Evil Olive, and that's also in the book. That's me with Bobby Zoo at their headquarters at Kiss FM London, after doing one of their mixes on the radio. And in the backdrop, you can see the whole station. Now, Kiss FM in London, it made me realize and show me firsthand how radio can really support Black dance music. A majority of Black house music records, I would just say house music, not even Black house, but a lot of Black artists from house music got a lot of play on Kiss FM. And they helped propel a lot of the producers that made the music, put them on. And you got to realize, in the UK, like as the club scene was dying here in New York, they were building super clubs over there. It was the era of the super clubs in the UK and Europe. So it was more beneficial for DJs that wasn't working in New York to travel and play at these super clubs than to play at little lounges here in New York. And so that's why it became so important for us. Okay, now we into rave culture, right? Because now I'm playing at a Lust party in Denver, Colorado, right? What you know about raves, Moana?
A little
What do
something,
you
something.
know? Huh?
A little something, something.
You know a little something, something? What do you know? Tell me something.
How much time do you have? I mean, rave culture US, rave culture UK.
Rave culture in US.
Rave,
This
rave
is early 90s rave culture. What you know about it?
I know nothing. You tell me. School me.
Raving is a lifestyle, right? It's not just for the weekend. And even if the club scene cared about what you look like, the raves allowed you to be yourself, right? because raves infused a lot of misunderstood concept because they were into their plur thing, their peace, love, you know, things of that nature. But I think musically, you can take so many chances as a DJ. A lot of DJs play techno, don't get me wrong. But in my book, we tell a different story, don't we, Henry?
No doubt. 100%. Yeah, I mean, well, Disciple, remind me who it was. You know, it feels like there's always been an international quality to house music. You know, we were just talking about you know, house music moving over to the UK. All these there were a bunch of what would be considered underground records here that like charted in the UK from these house artists. You know, it's ridiculous. It seems crazy. There's kind of this other thing going on with rave culture in that sense too. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, Disciple, in the sense that there's this kind of universality to it. You can see ravers in North America go hang out with ravers in Europe, Israel, what have you. And there's kind of this commonality shared between them. Wouldn't you say, Disciple?
Yes. 100%.
What's happening here?
So that's the party. That's the Lust Party with DJ Duke, Carlos, and the Club Kids from Toronto. And so you have the West Coast sound of DJ Hippie E, Craig C, and you know, just understanding the book kind of lays out what was special about the rave culture that I got involved in, playing at these kind of events. Because I played the beat, the scene, the sound is the name of the book. And that means that obviously I played in a lot of different scenes. Like this is the UK scene, the UK house scene. And I'm playing with one of the residents from the Hacienda, Graham Park, at Camelot for John and dealing with and working with Sky Bradford. So it gives you the musical range that I was able to take certain sounds to because I was getting unreleased music during this time. Now we go back to New York for this because this photo is in 1995 and I've been working heavily with Dawn Tallman. Dawn Tallman and I met at the Underground Network Sound Factory Bar. But Dawn Tallman and I were great friends, amazing person to work with. Always a great singer. We actually went to Baltimore to work with 95 North at one point, and we did a record, but it never came out. Shout out to Doug and Richard Payton, and she always held a special place in my heart. Dawn Tallman. What you think of her, Milena? Oh, this is me in Japan, and this is having fun in Japan playing at Club Yellow, which was an amazing. I just had the night out, but playing at Club Yellow was another institution that DJs like Kenny Carpenter, Nick Jones had a lot of success playing at this venue where you could express yourself musically for 6 to 10 hours playing underground dance music. So this is me, Roger Sanchez, and John, who also works with Alex Lowe and is responsible for the Southport Weekender in London. And obviously I did quite a few Southport Weekenders, but they always had me play for his parties at To the Manor Born, which was also connected with Southport Weekender. This is me on Kiss FM in London. Obviously, I got started with the Transatlantic Mix, and I was the first American DJ to actually have a show where it was broadcast all over the whole of England during this time. This is another rave because raves didn't just happen in Denver, but it happened in New Mexico. It happened in Seattle. It happened in quite a few places. And that's a photo of me and Marshall Jefferson. And obviously I talk about him in the book as well. So Cesar De La Muro he's the person that really broke acid house in Spain, and it's one of my first times DJing and in Barcelona. And at one of the parties in Barcelona, I run into DJ Ruff, who I later connected with, and will be highlighted in this book. But DJ Ruff is a friend of mine that also works with David Tort. So one of the first time I get to play with DJ Sneak. DJ Sneak is my brother. We both believe in the underground. We both love it. And we enjoyed playing with each other at Sona, which was based in Montreal, which was bought by the hardcore crew. Playing for 3,000 to 4,000 people on a Sunday night after hours. I have videos of me playing at Sona. But from playing at Sona, I was able to build a residency playing 3 or 4 times a year at this amazing after-hour place in Montreal. That's me, Adriana, and Carl Cox in Miami. Carl Cox, as you know, he knows who I am. We've been friends for years, but I haven't seen him in a while. But he had put out a couple of records that I did for him. One was a collaboration I did with Robert Rivera called Bass in Trouble. That's me at Webster Hall, photo courtesy of Donna Ward, playing in Webster Hall in 1996. So this is a Mix Mag. Mix Mag is one of the biggest magazines besides DJ Mag in Britain. And doing their event with Alistair Whitehead for Mix Mag on Boxing Night was a big deal. Once again, that's me and DJ Sneak. Sneak was powerful because he put out that record, Different Shapes and Sizes. You remember that record? And blew up. And oh my God, that's me and him. Not in Montreal, though. That's me and him in Germany. So that's me playing at the Mix Mag party with Alistair Whitehead. And you can see I'm loving the decks, the tape cassettes. We still believed in playing off mixed cassettes even back then. Mixing off cassettes and mixing. So this is an event that I played at in 1997 at Twilo with Dino and Terry. I once played with Danny Teneglia at Twilo. And it was around that time that I worked with Basement Jacks. And I did the record Slide Slide. But they had their famous records at that time. With Basement Jacks. They had Bella Horizonte and another track that was huge. So one of the flyers importance of this here is obviously DJing in Detroit. I DJed and I became the resident at Motor in Detroit. And the person that wound up opening for me for quite a number of these events in 1999, it was a bi-monthly residency. And I would DJ with DJ Minx from Detroit, which is one of the best one of the best DJs from Detroit going right now. This is Anthony Mack and Paulie P. We are in San Diego doing a GBH tour in New York. You can go on and on. Wait a minute, Henry, do you need to say something right now?
No, you're good, man. You've got the stories. Take us through it, man.
I know. I didn't want to go through this many. This is me in Montreal. Rocking and Sona, just to give you another look of what the dance floor looks like out there in Montreal. So this is Pangea. Pangea was Bottle Service Club. It was the second club I played at. That was Bottle Service. I played at the first Bottle Service Club, which was Spy Bar in 1998. And playing at Bottle Services is also explored in this book. It is another scene that I played for, and I developed another sound from that. So that's one of the many areas that I played at.
Yeah, maybe Mulema, let me jump in and ask you what's your experience with Bottle Service or your attitude or opinion toward it? You know, I feel like people have different ideas there.
Yeah, I have mixed views. I have very strong opinions. On the one hand, it's a way for the bar owner or the club owner to make a lot of money, but it changes the vibe of the venue, and it it shifted nightlife, I would say. I think it's the most succinct way to say it.
Okay.
Yeah, totally. I think Disciple, you also saw that firsthand.
I saw you'll see when you read the book. So this is me DJing at Sankey's, and it's the last time I DJ'd at Sankey's. I believe Felix the House Cat was in attendance at that time, but it showed how crazy the crowd was going for the set that I was playing during that time. It was one of the most fun times I had working with David Vinci at Sankey's in Manchester. This is another party of Pangea for one of their lounge bottle service parties in New York City. And this is me playing at Ruby Sky in San Francisco, which was one of the more important clubs in the 2000s. That's me playing at Fluid in Italy. I'm playing with Satoshi Tomi and Danny Rampling during that time. So that's another photo of me at Sona in Montreal. That photo was with DJ Scooter Love, may he rest in peace. He was another follower of Grandmaster Flowers from back in the days. That's me at my residency at GBH, Great British House in New York City, where me, Carl Kennedy, and Carl Kennedy was residents at, as well as Anthony Macaroni. So this is Second Sundays at Square, with Ben Doran. Ben Doran was a great DJ in San Francisco, but during that time in San Francisco, I saw a lot of gentrification happening, a lot of flight happening during that time. So they had some social issues that was going on in San Francisco, even though they had the best parties. That's a party in Belfast, DJing at a club called Milk, and they had disco nights there, which the crowd absolutely loved. That's another club. That's La America in Cardiff, with Craig Bartlett as the DJ. I started working for La America in like 2001 and didn't stop working until like 2009. That's Space in the UK, one of the long gone venues that has been closed but was very relevant in the 90s. That's me and George Morel. We're in Ibiza, and we're doing his Groove On party for Privilege in Ibiza, which Privilege was the largest club in Ibiza at that time. That's me and Pete Tong from Radio 1 after we do his BBC radio show, and he put one of my tracks, Nympho Sounds, as #1 on his Essential Selection mix. That's me playing at Pasha in Spain with Willie San Juan. Pasha in Spain and Barcelona was one of the hot clubs going at that time. Inevitably, Javi Mula also became the resident, and we collaborated on a record called Sexy Lady. So Nefertiti was one of the hot clubs in Sweden that I played at. Was able to connect with Hard Soul, get things jumping off with them after a collaboration I did with Lady Bunny called I Get High. Once again, that's again Privilege with George Morel for his Groove On party. And that's me with Michele Shiverini after working on one of our great records. He's the master of engineering, of musicality. When we did Brooklyn Soul Boys together, Fort Greene Jazzmatazz, I'll never forget it being played in Fort Greene Park. And I always loved working with him, and his musicianship was incredible. So that's me with Michelle Weeks in Miami. After we collaborated on Turn Around, as you know, Michelle Weeks worked with Jamie Lewis, worked with a number of people, but she lived 2 blocks away from me in Fort Greene. That's me in my first appearance in Russia, DJing there. It wouldn't be the first of many times after connecting with DJ Slider, who was also from Russia, playing a different sound, a different scene. That's me playing at Bed in Bangkok in 2004. Was one of my first times DJing in Bangkok. And that was one of the flyers. That's me playing in Taiwan I played in Taiwan, Taipei, and I was doing an Asian tour out there. So that's the crowd that loves the house out there. That's a party, I believe, in LA. I think it's pretty much, yes, that's in LA. Underground party. That's my residency that I started at Red Light in Montreal, playing for 3,000 people for 3 to 4 years there, playing at Red Light, which was an after-hour club, which was incredible after-hour style of, that's when I started getting into my after-hour sound, tech house, and things of that nature, and how I was able to move up to work it out. That again is Red Light. So playing in all these different scenes gave me a lot of different experience, getting a global sound.
Disciple, you say you've been around the world in 150 clubs. Have you counted up the clubs that you played in? Like, is that even possible at this point?
Well, just think about it like this. After when bottle service came to the forefront and I was doing GBH, I worked pretty much every week until the pandemic, because I played in, like, if I didn't play I would play at the restaurant scene, but like playing clubs, I played in New York quite a long time because I had crazy residencies. I had residency at Spy Bar, obviously, Pangea, Quo, Pink Elephant, Kane, and working at Le Souk for 10 years. You'll never stop. This is me in Italy again. But it's like some DJs, believe it or not, there are many DJs that have worked a little bit more than me, a lot more than me, actually. This is me in Spain, DJing with Willie San Juan at the Bikini Club. This is me. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, so that's me in Skunk Nest with Danny Rampling. He was working on Radio 1 at the time. So this is me at the end, playing with Tom Steffen from Sugar Combo. I mean, I get the name mixed. Super Chumbo, I'm sorry. That's me with Jeremy Sylvester at Notting Hill Carnival in London. One of the gigs I played at Notting Hill Carnival. That's me playing with Benny Benassi that made the record Satisfaction in Miami for a red light party. That's me with DJ Vanjie. We both DJ together at Kane in New York City. That's Mr. Tribe and me, my residency in Montreal. So this is with me with Rich Lamont and Strafe in Miami with Renault. That's me and David Taunton. We were working on Work It Out. And these are photos of my next level party, which DJ Raz, Cameron, and DJ. I started the party in 2006. We moved it to various places. We had it at Frank's, at Langston's. We did Coney Island. We did a number of events. And obviously you saw with the documentaries based on the photos. I couldn't tell a story of Frank's Lounge and the next level party. It was just too much at that time. So I did an 8-part series to document everything about that scene at that time. That's me playing in Venezuela for the Boogie Nights festivals. So between 2007 and 2009, I was doing a ton of festivals. That's back at the next level party, working with Ruben Toro. You see MK there on your far right. She's the woman with the blue shirt on. She was one of the first DJs that I had do the women's shows with. Down the bottom, you'll see me with the Martinez brothers. And obviously, I did DJs Against Hunger. I did that for 10 years at Frank's Lounge. And I would hire DJs for DJs Against Hunger to give back. And we would actually feed people on Thanksgiving. That's one of my parties at Next Level Party at Coney Island, where people wore Next Level shirts. And the Deep House crew came out. That's me with Terry Hunter and Sandy Rivera in London playing for To the Manor Born. Yeah, that's Venezuela again. That's Next Level again. That's Radio 1 me playing with Pete Tong at Radio 1 in Miami to promote the single, Work It Out. That's me at the Iniesta Festival in Spain. That's me at the Sneakers Festival in Amsterdam. That's me and Dawn Tallman in Poland. That's back at Frank's Lounge for the Next Level party. We're getting crewed up, playing the deep house, South African house. So Next Level parties was always amazing to do. And being part of that community, I got back into it about 2005, 2006, and I still love doing it. That's in Russia the second time around. These are my parties that I was doing at Release. Release was another party I did at Sapphire Lounge. And Sapphire Lounge with Jahan Montan gave me the opportunity to work with a lot of the DJs there. So I wound up working and having DJs like Mr. V, Les Carbonell, Jahad Muhammad, Mark Francis. So, you know, a lot of new talent with a lot of established talent as well. That's me and Tony Touch, where I often played at his funk box parties. So these are my dancers that I hired from Craigslist. But one of them is Magnolia Nunez, which is a movie star now. She does the CIS series. She's been known as an amazing actor. But she was a dancer that worked with me and brought great energy at various places that she danced for me at. My Monday nights at Le Souk Harem at 510 LaGuardia Place. So when you become a mainstay in New York and you're working every week, doing all these different events, playing different styles of music and having an open mind to collaborate becomes important for the growth. I put info charts in there because there's no way that people can really know how many events that I did. That's why I put some info charts in there. If you go back, I don't know if you go up or back down, but if you go down, you'll see that I put like a few info charts just to kind of let people see and track. Like, you know, I played at all these events, but there's like some kind of organization there. That's me with Ejo, with Becky Nunez. That's when he was my resident, and that's DJ S, who did tons of mobile parties outside. But with DJ, working with Becky Nunez is a pleasure. That was one of my last residencies at Baroque, which was in Queens. I did the Astoria scene. That's me with E-Man, Indy, Becky, Miss Patty. We were the group that formed Feel Real, which was an inspiration to London's Feel Real. And this is like a timeline. I don't know if you could bring it out a little bit more, but these are the timelines of clubs that I've worked at in the UK. If you bring it out, you'll see like all these different venues that I worked at. It's like, you know, you do 50 clubs a year for 10 years, and you pick out one or two that was special to you, and you go up and down, and you see all the various venues playing at Cream, playing at To the Manor Born, playing at Legends. It is, you know, it's something that's to be said that I'm grateful for, to have the honor and, you know, to be able to put it on the book, and with Henry's help was so important to document, because it just shows like all of the things that I was able to achieve in different generations. Because house music, you really look at the regular house generation only lasts for like 4 years, and then you get a new generation every 4 or 5 years. You get a new generation of house heads, and you lose some people and you gain some people. And so the scene is always changing. You're always getting different people, but it's always I wanted to track like a lot of the different scenes and places I played at since my start. And it's yeah. I mean, when you're looking at this, what are you thinking? When you're looking at the discography of all the productions and the remixes, what do you think?
This is really great that you've documented it in this way, because it helps people visualize all that you've accomplished in the scene and all the places you've played at, because some of these venues are gone now, right? So the fact that you can state the venue and have a flyer is really great. It also is a great way to track the evolution of the sound and how the sound changed over time as well. I think we saw.
So when we're looking about these are the photos from back in the day, when Farragut was first formulated, and you can see, you know, a lot of when we look at New York Housing Authority, we often frown about what we don't have, and we understand like living in New York is not cheap; it's expensive. But I'm proud to be from my community, and not only proud to be from my community, but I'm proud to work in my community. You know, they don't know. Most people don't see me and say, "Oh, that's DJ Disciple." They see me and they say, "That's Julia's dad." They don't walk by and they say, "That's David Banks." They just say, "That's Julia's dad." And that's because of what the book will outlay, you know, things that my parents gave to me. So, you know, I don't focus so much and harp on the bad times that people go through, but I think about the great memories and document it so that people and share it with people so they understand um, the great capabilities, the talent that we have, and the love that we have for one another. That is so important to me. Do you have some more questions for me, Mueller?
I do. What advice do you have for the next generation?
Right now, go out and get it. Because right now is the rebirth of house music in New York City. Are you kidding me? It's New York is, you know, we think about it because of the energy crisis in the Ukraine, in the UK, because they had to deal with Brexit and had to deal with you know, their situation with their energy crisis. There's like a club closing down every week right now over there. And so I feel a certain kind of way for them because I understand what it's like to not have your residency anymore, to be in that kind of pain. Whereas in New York right now, you know, you got Nebula, Gospel, Somewhere Nowhere, Good Room, House of Yes, House of X, Brooklyn Mirage, Marquee. We have little establishments and we have big establishments now. And it's really about the time that you put in yourself, in your craft, but more importantly, just in your connection, because the game has changed where people have agents and understanding that, you know, the agents that value you and value you the most is going to take you the furthest that you need to be. But the general point is to find that person that values you. It could be a promoter. A promoter can value you, but you need to have a crew of people, somebody that values you, that's not going to look at you and say, well, how much can you going to make? How much can we get from the bar from you? How many people are you bringing out tonight? How many, you know, all those roadblocks that the younger DJs see. And then more importantly is like house music has become more disposable because we're just putting out tracks and we're not really showcasing the artist. So, you know, I look at myself. I'm not saying that and pointing a finger at nobody. I'm looking at myself and saying, like, how can I be better as a producer and as a label owner to make sure that, hey, some of these artists need to be heard. I want to do that for myself. That's my goal. That's the reason why I'm speaking that out. I'm not speaking it out because I'm pointing the finger at somebody else. I'm speaking it out because I'm speaking in existence for myself for the next goal that I want to have. Because I think that if I create another platform, it's not for me to be put on to be this DJ because I've already done that. I would rather, you know, try to showcase young talent, young artists that young kids can flock around. And it's good that we have the DJ, but we also need a voice. We also need a face. We also need, you know, a people that could, you know, come together as a family, but also understand our talents and not make it so disposable. But when you got 20,000 records coming at you at the same time, it's easier said than done. And so it's a dialogue that needs to continue to happen, and hopefully it'll happen sooner, greater than later, later than later. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for the interview. Tell everybody again the name of the book and when it drops.
Henry?
The book is The Beat, the Scene, the Sound. It'll be available in June. And follow Disciple, follow me on social media. We've got a lot of promotion planned. We'll be sharing lots more as time goes along. So also thanks so much, Moema, for having us on.
Absolutely.
Thanks
so much.
Fantastic.
All right. Have a good night.
Thanks.
All right.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.